Hello everybody and welcome to Cup of Joe. As always, I'm your host Jason McNeil, and today on the show we're going to discuss the legalization of weed in Canada. We have with us Gilbert. Gilbert's out in BC, and he's going to help us run through the ins and outs of how we're legalizing weed and what that's going to look like. So I guess first and foremost is just recently they announced they're going to legalize marijuana, and it's going to be across the board by, they say, Canada Day next year, yeah?
That's right, that's what I'm hearing.
Okay, so just looking at the overall policies, like it seems to me, it's still going to be very strictly regulated, yes?
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Okay, so my concern is, like, I think a lot of people probably thought, like, it's going to be a free-for-all with weed, right? It's just a plant, we can grow it, so, you know, pretty much once it's legalized, it just means it's out there and there's no regulation. Some people would say, like, the excessive amount of regulation coming or the increase of regulation might not be what they were expecting or might not be what they had hoped for. How do you feel about that?
Well, regulation is important. What we have right now is a system where dispensaries are giving out this product and it's not being tested for pesticides, it's not being tested for whatever else might be on the product. So, I mean, regulation is important, but where I think a lot of people are having an issue with is that it's the producers are being selected by the government, and a lot of them are sort of these big giant companies or to be big giant companies, and they're not allowing a lot of room for sort of the mom and pop shops to open up. So I think a lot of dispensary owners are really worried that they're going to get shut down, that they're not one of these few selected organizations of the federal government. So I think regulation is important, but which regulations are the important ones? Probably the ones that protect public safety and not so much the ones that restrict who can and can't sell the product.
Right. So like age limits and stuff like that, things like that you would consider important. Regulation in terms of chemical makeup of the substance, that it's not being tampered with, that it's a certain grade or quality, you know what I mean? Things like that you would find more of a concern than like the business aspect of it.
Well, the first thing that you mentioned there was about the age, sort of to young people, and I think that's huge. Of course, we don't want young people to be using drugs of any kind, whether it be alcohol or marijuana or cigarettes. The reality is, though, that in Canada we have, if not the highest, one of the highest rate of use for cannabis for our youth. So the problem is that when we put in a law, like the federal government has now implemented, but what they put forward is that an adult can get 14 years in prison for supplying marijuana to a youth. I think that's nuts. And if we compare that to sort of the side for alcohol, the maximum penalty in Ontario is 1 year for supplying alcohol to a minor. Versus 14 years for cannabis, there's a giant disconnect there. And Philpott, the minister who's responsible for this, she's backed this up tooth and nail, saying that 14 years is an appropriate amount of time. I just think that's way too much.
Right. And I mean, I would agree. And that's sort of the point I was going to get to next. The question I was going to ask was, given that it's going to be strictly regulated, it seems to me the tone of the regulation still seems to make it like it's far more dangerous than alcohol. This is far more of a concern than alcohol. I don't know that that's true, right? Like, to me, I believe that alcohol has its own issues, right?
Far more dangerous.
Yeah, and it has a definite impact on society that we know of, that we see every day, and yet it's just, you know, widely accepted as far less dangerous for some reason, right? I mean, we could get into the historical reasons why it's looked at like that, but at the end of the day, currently, as we're legalizing, I just feel like we're still making it seem like this is incredibly dangerous, it's a terrible thing, and anybody who works outside of the government framework is going to be severely prosecuted, and I don't know that makes me as comfortable as what I had expected coming forward with legalization, right?
I totally agree. I think that it should be more open than what they're sort of proposing, but I guess glass half empty or half full.
Yeah.
It's better than what was previously going on. I mean, look at our last government when we had mandatory minimums for some cannabis crimes. That's nuts.
Well, I think...
So this is at least a step forward, but it's far from where we should be.
Right, and I think for me the good part of the step is that things like possession of small amounts of stuff, you're not going to feel like a criminal. You can go and you can purchase it, and you don't have to feel like you're being seedy or shady or anything like that. That's the first step. In terms of just opening up the industry, though, I do wonder, like, tell me what you foresee, because they say it's going to be open to the provinces, right? Which means for me in Ontario, it's probably going to be similar to the LCBO. I think the government is going to sell marijuana, and that's how it's going to work. But then is there going to be like brand names? Is it going to be government produced? How do you see that going forward?
It's going to be interesting to find out. I don't want to make any bold predictions because I think that every province will be different. And I think that it's a guessing game at this point. I'm really not sure how it's going to roll out. I find it hard to believe that they're just going to shut down all these dispensaries. But that seems to be what they're hinting at or what they're indicating. So they're going to see a lot of pushback, though, from dispensaries if they go that route. And I think that the public is going to have a hard time changing their habits from visiting a dispensary to having to visit potentially another location at this point. I think that those who are already using cannabis and using the dispensaries, it's going to be tough to break their habits and get them to order it online or whatever some of these provinces might come up with.
Now, I would even take that a step further, right? First of all, I would say that's why the dispensaries are popping up now, because they want to get that sort of behavior into society. So the money is coming this way, and the government has to work very hard to stop the money from coming this way. My other concern would be, you'll also have a problem with the people that have the weed dealer on the corner in the neighborhood, right? That behavior is still typical. It's still how they're going to feel safe, how they're going to feel comfortable. They may not be like, oh, a lot of people have been hiding the fact that they smoke marijuana because it's an illegal drug, and they might not feel comfortable walking right into a dispensary even at this point. But that guy on the corner is going to be persecuted or prosecuted very strongly, right? Even if he's just supplying maybe to a couple of friends or whatever. So again, I do feel like there's certain lines being drawn, and I don't know that I'm completely comfortable with where they're drawing them.
Yeah, hopefully the stigma does go away and that people do feel comfortable going to purchase the product in wherever it's being sold, because what we want to do is eliminate that dealer on the block from being able to make money. I mean, I'm totally in agreement with the government that we want to get the money out of the criminals' hands. We should be putting it into the hands of people who aren't breaking the law.
But it's
not right for them to be cutting down, for instance, the Emerys. Like, where's the line? Are you a criminal or are you not? Are you a criminal because you're selling marijuana, or are you involved in other criminal activities that are far worse than that? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
but if
it's confusing.
But if that's the case, and we want to get sort of the criminal element out of marijuana, I also would think like, okay, marijuana, any drug dealing, it's a business, right? Same as any other, but it's illegal, so there's different sort of rules to it. Now, I would argue that if someone has been making money selling marijuana under the table or illegally, and they want to go legit and start a business and get sort of legal money so they don't have to be part of the world of crime, I feel like the government should probably help that transition to make it from an illegitimate seedy business to being a legitimate business person, because you have skills in this field already, in this vein. You have knowledge and sort of understanding of distribution and all these things. Why not turn you from someone who's looked at as a criminal to someone who's looked at as a businessman? And if we take that away from you, you're still going to be a criminal, because you don't have any legitimate way to succeed still. We took the one that now is a safe way or legal way, and we took that away from you and said you can't have part of this. Where do you go from there, right? So I feel like it shouldn't just be like, let's catch the criminals or cut them out. I kind of feel like let's find the safest way forward for society, right? What's the best, most productive way?
I definitely agree with you, and that's what I was trying to get at, was that are we classifying some dispensaries and some of these dealers as criminals because they're selling marijuana? Because technically, yes, we are. But I don't really have a problem with those kind of criminals. I have a problem with the kind of criminals who are, doing extortion or doing theft or doing violent crimes. Those are the people that I care about. So I definitely want a violent person who's not acting in violent ways to become legitimate, yes, and not have to do a ton of government standing in the way. I definitely hope that person becomes a successful entrepreneur. But right now, what I have a problem with is seeing the RCMP and other police forces, whether it be in Ontario or wherever, taking out these dispensaries and calling them criminals and saying that they're contributing to criminal organizations. When in reality, their whole nature of being a criminal is just selling marijuana, which, it's becoming legal in a very short time. It seems like a waste of resources and just not a great idea. Why are we giving these people criminal records when in a year's time it's going to be a legal substance? If they're shutting these people down because they are engaging in other illegal activities, gotcha, I'm with you on that. But that doesn't seem to be the case.